Hello. Hello, everyone, and good morning to everyone out there. I hope everyone's day is going well. So, thank you very much for joining me for today's webinar. My name is Niyati, and I am a product expert with Manage Engine's IT Security Solutions team. So, today's webinar is all about threat intelligence and how you can incorporate it into your network security. So, before starting the content of today's webinar, please let us know if you're facing any audio or video issues and we can look into that. You can let us know using the live chat option anytime during the course of this webinar. And if there are any issues, we'll look into sorting that out for you immediately. And also a couple of other notes. So we will be sending the recording of this webinar across within a couple of days of today's session. And also, if you have any questions, you can always ask us using the live chat option, and I'll be addressing them towards the end of today's session. Okay, cool. So, here's the agenda for today's webinar. So, basically, what we're going to be discussing in this webinar is we are going to be looking at a very structured three-stage approach which you can use to integrate threat intelligence within your security framework. So, the initial stage is all about setting up your threat intelligence system so that you have a way to detect threats to your network at the earliest possible. Okay, so I'll talk to you about what threat intelligence is, what it involves. So, some of the considerations involved in setting up a good threat intelligence system, and also some of the popular protocols that are used. The next stage deals with all the measures you need to take once a threat is detected. Okay, so these include the necessary investigation and response measures which you would need to mitigate a detected incident. And the final stage is basically the a sort of finisher stage. Okay, so this is where you take steps to ensure that the security of any compromised device or user account is tightened so that you don't have to face similar threats again. So it's a kind of a feedback process. You keep improving. It's a continual improvement procedure, so you keep improving on your own threat intelligence framework over time so that you create a really strong system which can detect any external or internal threat to your network. And once I go through this whole process, I'll also be giving you all a quick look at the various features that our SIEM solution offers you to actually set up this entire threat intelligence framework within your organizations. Okay, then, so stage one. Let's begin by discussing what threat intelligence is. Okay, so here is the Gartner definition of the same. So, threat intelligence is evidence based knowledge, which includes context, mechanisms, indicators, implications, as well as actionable advice about either an existing or emerging menace or hazard to your assets that can then be used to inform decisions regarding your response to that particular menace or hazard. So, okay, that's a lot of words. Okay, so let's start by breaking this definition down. So, the first thing, threat intelligence is evidence based knowledge, right? So, the field of threat intelligence is based on a very familiar known bad approach. And this is one of the more classic and still highly efficient approaches to network security. Like threat detection occurs based on the knowledge that a similar threat was observed somewhere else in the world. So that is how you get a degree of guarantee in qualifying a specific set of network activities as suspicious, qualifying it as a potential threat to your network. Okay, so Threat intelligence includes context, mechanisms, indicators, implications, and actionable advice. So that's a wide range of topics, okay? So this phrase basically indicates that threat intelligence is pretty wide ranging in the types of information that it covers, okay? Um, so there's actually a pretty common misconception out there that threat intelligence is just a list of bad IPs. But it's actually way more than that. It's not just indicators, as you can see. It ranges from hard facts like the specific mechanisms and indicators that point to a threat, as well as more general information such as recommendations or advice on how to go about dealing with that threat. So you can see that it's right from hard facts to recommendations. Threat intelligence covers a broad range of topics on how you can identify and deal with threats. Now, the thing is, these threats can be either existing or emerging. So, from this, we can see that threat intelligence is pretty fluid because it keeps changing. Okay, at any given time, it specifies information about established and existing threats, but it also can tell you about any new emerging threats as well. So it keeps changing. It's pretty dynamic, and literally every day you can see new records being added or new information being given out about the latest, newest threats out there. Okay. And finally, threat intelligence can be used to inform decisions regarding your response to any menace or hazard to your assets. So here we come to the heart of the matter, okay? This here is the actual heart of threat intelligence. It is the ultimate aim of why everyone is interested in it in the first place. Okay, so you need to be able to use all of this knowledge to better detect and respond to security incidents. So you need to be able to detect incidents much quicker. You need to be able to detect it with higher accuracy, with a higher degree of confidence, and you need to launch your response mechanism as soon as possible. So you need to be able to figure out how to respond to a threat really fast so that threat intelligence can help you out there as well. So this is the main aim of threat intelligence. And yeah, so you can see that this definition is pretty broad. And another note that I'd like to point out is it's not covered in the Gartner definition, but there's also a pretty popular opinion which believes that threat intelligence also covers the various processes, policies, and tools that are designed to gather and analyze this above information. So, now let's talk about this. Where does threat intelligence come from? Now, threat intelligence can be created internally within your organization, and this would usually relate primarily to internal threats that you face. But the thing is, there are millions of bad actors across the world which are engaged in wide ranging malicious activities. So, what we need to understand is it is practically impossible to kind of build and maintain this sort of a knowledge base in house. You cannot try to embark on this sort of exercise completely in house. So, that is why you do need to rely on external sources of threat intelligence as well. And then once you do that, you need to find a way to integrate it within your own security processes. So, just to illustrate my point on why external threat intelligence is so necessary, let's take a quick look at the types of threats that threat intelligence covers. Okay, so let's say you start with malware. Okay, you have information about various types of malware out there, and let's take the most common and well known example of ransomware. Okay, so ransomware is right up there among the most common attacks facing networks around the world. So, Every day you have a new strain or a new variant of ransomware coming out and infecting different systems around the world. And if you have access to the latest threat intelligence, you would be aware of these new types of attack vectors which are coming out, which are in use around the world, and you would be in a position to watch out for them on your own network. Okay, and next you have CNC servers, that is command and control servers, and botnets. So you have information about them as well. So if you don't know, I will just quickly explain what those are. There are these servers known as command and control servers, which are able to infect systems around the world. They could be your personal systems or in systems from your organization's network. They infect them through some means and take them under their control. And this network of computers that they control is known as a botnet. So they can, these are basically like sleeper cells, imagine them that way. So these CNC servers, whenever they need any sort of when they need to perform any sort of malicious activity, they can send commands to any of these systems which are a part of their botnets. So uh, it's a pretty common attack type that you see out there. It's not an attack type exactly, but it is common. So you have information about botnets and CNC servers as well as a part of various which from external threat intelligence sources. Okay, so the latest lists of systems which are known to be a part of a botnet or known to be a CNC server, you would be able to access this kind of information if you subscribe to external sources of threat intelligence. So there may be thousands of systems around the world which are affected in this way, and you would definitely want to avoid communications to or from such machines, right? And the next couple of threat types, so phishing and spam, and these are pretty common attacks as well. I mean, you might think that these days people don't fall for lame phishing attempts or spam mails, but the sad fact is people do, and that is why these attack methods are still so popular even today. And all it takes is a single employee of yours to fall for such a phishing email or a spam email, and systems on your organization's network could get affected, right? I mean, there's also the fact that phishing and spam methods are getting more sophisticated, and that is why even pretty well aware people are falling prey to these attacks. So threat intelligence gives you access to the list of bad actors involved in these types of attacks as well, and you can take steps to avoid communications from them as well. So, similarly, you can get information related to the various other kinds of threats as well, like zero day threats or vulnerability exploits or advanced persistent threats. The main point I'd like to highlight here is the one that I made in the previous slide, okay? That it is almost impossible to create and manage a global threat intelligence database internally for three simple reasons. So, one, it is simply not easy to access or source the kind of information that you need to build this sort of a database. Okay, you would need like a lot of dedicated resources to actually access this information in the first place. Okay, reason number two, even if you do have access to this information, this knowledge is pretty vast, and you would require an enormous amount of resources to store and manage this information. And reason number three, this information isn't static, it literally changes by the minute or by the day. So, any lag in updating this knowledge base from your end would only leave your network susceptible for that much longer. Get it? So if you take time to update the latest threat intelligence within your internal databases, you would, if it takes you say half a day, you might be attacked within that half day. So it is pretty risky to try and uh, undergo this entire exercise on your own. So that is why you need a way to access a good, reliable source of external threat intelligence. But then this leads to some other considerations like how the threat intelligence is shared and how you access it, which is what we are going to be discussing next. Okay, there are various ways to share threat intelligence. So we are going to be talking about threat feeds. But before that, let me quickly explain. So there are various ways of sharing this threat intelligence. Okay, and the definition that we saw in the previous slides is pretty broad. So, any information shared about a threat could potentially qualify as threat intelligence. I mean, you could literally get an email tonight from a friend telling you about a new type of ransomware and how it works, and that would be threat intelligence. But when it comes to a sort of standard way of accessing and processing this threat intelligence for your network, there are probably two commonly used approaches, of which there is one which is way more common than the other. But first, let me describe threat intelligence reports. So, these reports are high level reports which are shared by independent security research firms. And these reports would outline broad information about upcoming or new threats that are emerging out there. And you would have to read these reports manually and then take strategic decisions for the direction of your network security. So, if we think back to the definition, it fits with the goal of threat intelligence, which is that you need to inform your decisions regarding your response to a threat. Anyway, while high level reports are incorporated by some companies, the most common way of sharing threat intelligence is through threat feeds. So, thread feeds are basically ongoing streams of data that provide the latest threat intelligence. It's like your RSS feed or any type of a news feed. It's a news feed for the latest threat intelligence. And these thread feeds are published by third party vendors. And so the information is collected through a combination of both automatic and manual mechanisms and then validated by dedicated research teams who add quality, reliable information to the feeds that they publish. Obviously, because you see that there is a human element involved here, you would face a choice in selecting a thread feed provider simply based on the vendor reliability. But thread feeds vary in other ways as well. So you can see that they vary in the types of threads covered. We just discussed the various types of threads. And the thing is, there are several thread feeds out there which concentrate on specific types of threads. And there are also thread feeds which have a specific industry focus. They are meant for specific the IT industry or the manufacturing industry. So you would see thread feeds which have an industry focus, and there are also thread feeds also vary by the degree of information that they share for each thread. So some thread feeds might provide very basic information like indicators and bad actors, but some feeds may go beyond that and provide you with extra information such as the mechanisms and the attack vectors used, a sort of risk score or a geographic risk score, and so on. So thread feeds vary in a wide number of ways, and they can be either free or paid. So it's your choice. So if you do take the choice of directly subscribing to thread feeds, you would have to consider all of these various factors, including the cost, and take a decision on what types of thread feeds you would like to subscribe to. Right, so now that we know that there are various types of thread feeds, the next issue which crops up is what format are these thread feeds in? So it's pretty safe to assume that with multiple vendors and multiple types of feeds, there is going to be multiple formats as well. But here's the thing, at its heart, threat intelligence is a global collaborative effort to build a standard threat intelligence knowledge base to make threat detection and resolution quicker and more efficient. Okay, but let's look at a couple of cases here. So, you may, in your organization, you may subscribe to various types of threat feeds, and considering that all of these, let's say that all of these thread feeds are in various formats, you would have to undergo an extra step of consolidating the information from all these sources. So before you can make use of them, you would have to normalize them all to a standard format before you can make any useful sense of all the information in one central place, right? And also sometimes you may be using various products various solutions to deal with various aspects of security, and let's say each of those products would be generating their own sets of internal threat intelligence, and you would need an easy way to share threat intelligence among products as well. So threat intelligence needs to be unified enough and standard enough to be shared across organization and product boundaries. So you can see that the multiple format problem actually defeats the purpose of threat intelligence because it ends up slowing you down. And the whole point is you need to be quick and efficient in detecting threats. Okay. So this is where STIX and TAXII comes in. STIX and TAXII are open source protocols that emerged from this gap that I just described. They were developed jointly by the Meta Corporation and the Department of Homeland Security. So I've expanded them for you here on the screen. STIX is basically structured threat information expression, which represents how threat intelligence is expressed. So it's the sort of language in which threat intelligence is actually written down. Okay, and then you come to TAXI, which is a communication protocol. TAXI stands for Trusted Automated Exchange of Indicator Information. So it represents how the information is actually shared or communicated between parties. And these two protocols, they formed a sort of revolution in the entire threat intelligence space because they made the field of threat intelligence much more unified, and it became so much more easy to quickly and efficiently share threat intelligence among various parties. Okay, and now you'll see that most of the reliable prominent threat feeds in use today make use of these two protocols. And here we have the final consideration when it comes to putting all of this knowledge to good use. See, we have spoken about threat intelligence and we have spoken about threat feeds, but from a practical implementation perspective, you would need to select a good solution that leverages the latest threat intelligence and helps you detect, analyze, and respond to these threats. So that's why we need to be aware of how to select a good threat intelligence solution. There are various threat intelligence solutions out there. There are various types. Some are exclusively meant to deal with threat intelligence. So all they do is collect information from various threat feeds, process it, give you alerts, and things like that. And there are also other broader solutions, such as SIM solutions, which offer a variety of capabilities, including threat intelligence. So, threat intelligence comes packaged as a part of these broader solutions. So, that's the first choice you would have to make, whether you'd want a dedicated solution or whether you'd like to integrate it within a larger, broader solution like a SIM solution. So, what factors would you have to look at when you select such a solution? Well, first off, let's get the usual suspects out of the way. You would need to look at things like cost, ease of deployment. You'd need to see the architecture, the various resource requirements, how much hardware you would need to dedicate, whether it requires any special sorry, any special requirements when it comes to hardware, things like that. So obviously these are pretty normal and everyone knows about this, so I won't spend much time discussing these. But apart from this, there are two broad classes of considerations you would have to look at before you select a solution. Okay, so the first class of factors would be where these solutions are getting their threat intelligence from. So, we discussed the various factors that make the different types of threat intelligence feeds different, right? We saw how there are different types of threats, different types of threat feeds. So, when you make a choice in investing in a specific solution, you would definitely need to look at where it is sourcing its threat intelligence from, so that you feel comforted by knowing that yes, this solution will give you information on the very same specific types of threats that you and your organization are interested in. And of course it would be highly helpful if it gives you various other types of collaborations or integrations. And it also, if it allows you to add your own custom feeds. So let's say, apart from the solution, you also subscribe to specific feeds which you feel are important to your industry or your company. If you have the option to add this feed and integrate it within your threat solution, it's all the better for you. So, this is the first set of considerations that you would have to look at. And then you would have to look at the various types of features that your solution would give you. So, does it just give you alerts? Does it just corroborate the feeds with your network data and give you an alert when something is detected? Or does it go beyond that? What does it do to help you track these incidents? What does it do to help you investigate and find out more about these threats? And what does it do to help you respond to these threats? So you need to look at all of this and make an informed decision in selecting a good solution and good fit for your organization. So we've discussed the first stage of integrating threat intelligence, which is setting up a good threats intelligence solution and setting up a good system to detect threats. So the first stage is all about the detection, the quick and accurate detection of threats. Okay, so now we start looking at the second step of our three-stage process. So once your chosen threat intelligence solution detects a threat, you need to employ several measures to deal with them. So I'll be listing the various things you should be doing to ensure that threats are dealt with efficiently within this stage. Okay, so to start off, you need a proper documented approach to dealing with threats. I mean, you need a neat, clean way of resolving them, right? And you need to ensure accountability in the resolution process. So, what are the things you can do to achieve this? First off, you can assign the incident responsibility to a designator, user, or analyst within your organization. And then you need to dedicatedly track that incident's progress or status throughout the various stages of resolution. You need to maintain reports of the past incidents that have occurred so that you can go back and refer to them if needed. So for to do all this, a ticketing system is ideal. So a lot of us make use of ticketing solutions or help desk software. So it would be you need to use some sort of a solution like this to completely track your threat incidents through to resolution. Okay, so these features can either be built into your threat intelligence solution, or your solution needs a way to forward all of this to third party help desk software. So this is the first thing. So as soon as a threat is detected, you need to launch a proper a way to document this entire process of investigating and resolving the incident. Okay. And then you have the actual investigation and response steps. So, when a bad actor is detected on your network, you need to take immediate steps to, obviously you need to block them from your network. You need to look at the various affected systems. So you need to immediately remove them from your network and see what other activity they have gotten up to on your network. And of course you can also you can either do this manually, or you can automate common response measures that you would have to take, like blocking an IP or adding it to a blacklist, or you may want to just instantly shut down any affected system. So you can automate processes like this. And of course you need to conduct a thorough forensic investigation to trace that bad actors, that attackers path through your network. So to do this, you can search through your past network logs. You need to go back through your log history and look at their various actions. You need to see which devices they have been to. You need to see what data they've looked at, and things like so. Your logs would come very useful over here. You need to review which are the systems they've affected, whether any user accounts are compromised, and you need to come up with a neat list which you would need to take any remediation measures for. So here's the final stage. So in the second stage, you have taken steps to investigate the threats, you have taken steps to remediate, but finally, this is the stage where you enhance your network security. So in the very beginning of this webinar, I told you this is the finisher or the feedback stage. Okay, so in the second stage, you would have obviously identified specific security loopholes, which is why a bad actor or a threat occurred on your network in the first place. So, as soon as you identify these loopholes, you need to set up tighter controls. So, things like adding new firewall rules. Okay, like you say, let's say an IP was able to get through your firewall for some reason. You need to set up and look into why that happened, and you need to add new firewall rules or update the existing ones to ensure that such case cannot happen again. And of course, you can update your own internal blacklist. You can create or update your SIM solutions, alerts, correlation rules, and things like that. And of course, if you see that you are taking a lot of manual steps constantly and repeatedly, you can also create custom automated scripts to automate the remediation measures in the future so that they can happen all that more quickly. So when you take all these steps, it basically helps you to go from being reactive to preventive. So obviously in the beginning of this whole process, you will see that there are threats detected on your network, and it'll be a bit slow initially when you are kind of dealing with them, looking at what's happening on your network and plugging up all these security loopholes. But as time progresses, and as you get more and more information within your own threat intelligence and security framework, you will be able to see that you're preventing these similar incidents in the future. And that's when you go from being reactive to preventive. So that's why this is basically the continual improvement feedback stage, and it helps you to kind of streamline and strengthen your entire security framework. It strengthens all your security processes, and that's how you become really great and efficient at dealing with any external threat on your network. So now I'll just quickly talk to you about our SIM solution Log360, which offers you a host of various features to deal with external threats on your network. So this is just a quick diagram that shows you how Log360 deals with threats. So Log360 pulls its threat intelligence from a couple of very prominent STIX and TAXII feeds, and it does this automatically on a daily basis. and it corroborates these with your network logs and raises an alert immediately when any threat is detected. And of course, it goes beyond this as well. It offers you an entire host of features. So, like I said, it gives you automatic access to highly reliable threat information. Okay, and there is no configuration required here. As soon as you set up the product and as soon as you deploy it and add various devices on your network to be monitored, the threat intelligence module gets going and it immediately starts recognizing threats on your network and giving you the required alerts. Okay, and it collects these from prominent open source feeds, which would be both STIX and TAXII based as well as other prominent open source feeds. So it has a vast collection of highly access to a vast collection of highly reliable uh, and the latest threat intelligence. And of course, if this database isn't enough for you, if you have any specific STIX and TAXI based feeds which are specific to your organization or industry, if you happen to have a subscription to any third party feeds which are not included in the solution, you can easily sort of integrate this within the solution as well. And it doesn't just stop here. You can also integrate threat intelligence with the correlation module of log 360. So, correlation, for those of you who don't know, is another really cool security technique which kind of compares logs across your network and detects attack patterns before it alerts you. So, this feature, it integrates threat intelligence as well, so it can tell you, so before it alerts you to any threat activity, it's able to validate an entire pattern of activity before it alerts you to the same. So log 360 allows you to do this as well. And of course, the various stages. It allows you to ensure accountability across this whole process because it both gives you a built-in ticketing console, which allows you to automatically assign these incident tickets to the required user. It allows you to track their progress. It allows you to add related notes, which you can come back to later, and more. And also, if you don't want to use this, if you're using a third party help desk software, it allows you to forward incident information to these external help desk software as well. So currently log 360 provides support for a wide range of help desk software, including Service Desk Plus, ServiceNow, Zendesk, the Jira Service Desk, and more. So, apart from this, it also helps you conduct a thorough investigation into the various detected threat incidents. It does this by offering you a search feature. It allows you to search through millions of logs from the various devices on your network so that you can find out exactly where a bad actor has been. You can find out the affected systems and user accounts and immediately take the necessary steps to respond to it. And of course, when it comes to response, currently Log 360 allows you to create your own custom scripts and then add them for the automated remediation of any incident which is detected in the future. So I'll just give you a quick look at the product itself. I've just listed the features here, but what I'm going to do is show you how it looks on the actual product. So this is the online demo of EventLog Analyzer. You can look at it yourself by going to demo.eventloganalyzer.com. So Log 360 is an integrated SIEM SIM solution for your network, and one of its components is EventLog Analyzer, and this is the component which provides you the various threat intelligence features. So very quickly, if you want to look at various threat alerts, They are available under the Alerts tab, and they are available under the default thread profile. So I told you that this thread alert profile is automatically set up as soon as you set up the product itself. So you don't need to do any other, uh, you don't need to enable it or anything. The only thing you would need to do if needed is to set up the specific email or SMS alerts. So you can see here that this gives you the report of various threats detected in the selected time period. Next, so of course, like I told you, you can manage alert profile. So this is where you go to set up the, you know, the various email or SMS alerts. So this is the default thread profile, which gives you alerts for the various thread feeds that are added in the product. So you can set up email or SMS notifications over here. And as I told you, you can also set up automated responses by assigning specific script files. So you can simply select an automated response over here. You can select the file and you can set the automated response by updating the default thread profile over here. And I told you that the threat intelligence feature also integrates with the correlation module. So this helps you with corroborating a threat actor's path through your network. So, for instance, let's just look at how a typical correlation report looks, right? So, these are the various security incidents detected on your network, and you can see that this specific security incident occurred when there were a series of failed logons followed by a successful logon. So that is a brute force attack. And this set of actions was followed by a service being installed and started on Windows. So you can see that in this specific incident, someone brute forced their way into a system and installed a service and started it. So, this is certainly a suspicious set of events, which tells you that you need to look into what the service is, what it does, and whether it's something malicious. So, I'll show you how you can integrate threat intelligence with correlation. So, let's take the suspicious software installation rule. So, this is a correlation rule which tells you when a possible malicious software is installed on your organization's network. So, once again, this starts with a brute force hack into your VPN. It starts with a brute force VPN logon. So, let's say I want to be alerted only when a malicious IP succeeds at logging into my organization's VPN. So, what I can do is apply a filter. So, suppose I say remote IP address is malicious. So, now I will get an alert when a malicious IP succeeds at brute forcing its way onto my organization's VPN one, and then it goes on to log on to a specific machine on my network and install a software. So you see that log 360, you don't just get an alert when a malicious actor is detected on your network. So you can wait to be alerted when this bad actors activity is validated across a specific set of actions. So, in this way, you can ensure that you get much more accurate and valid alerts. So, let's say you want to, so this is the settings page. So, let's say you want to add your own custom STIX and TAXII fields. So, on the settings page, simply click on threat management, add new server, and that's it. You just have to provide the specific details over here of the thread feed that you're subscribed to, and you can provide a schedule for how often the information is collected from it, and then you just have to click on add server. So you can see that across the various areas of threat detection, analysis, and response, Log 360 provides you with a wide range of features that allows you to go through the various stages of threat tackling threats, so that you can ensure that your network is always protected from any harm. So that's about it for today's webinar. If you have any questions, you can ask me right now using the live chat option. Or if you have any other questions, or if you would like to set up a personal demo to discuss these features a bit more in detail, you can always contact us at this email ID listed over here, which is log360-support at manageengine.com. So if you have any questions, please let us know using the live chat option right now. We have about 10 minutes more. So you can tell me anything you'd like to know and I'll be happy to answer it for you. Hey guys, so one of our viewers would like to know how the ticketing section looks. So I showed it to you very briefly. Of course, I didn't go into a lot of detail, so I will show you how it looks right now. So the ticketing section is a part of the alerts tab, which I showed you for just a couple of seconds. So as I told you, the threat intelligence alerts are available under this specific default threat profile. So you see, you have a list of alerts over here. And now you need to ensure that each of these alerts are taken care of. So when you would like to assign a specific alert to someone, you can assign it manually by clicking on the update icon here. Over here, you have a list of the various users on the product, so you can select the specific user. If you like, you can add any specific notes to it, which regarding to the resolution of the incident. And of course, you can update the status. So once you assign it to someone, you can always say that the ticket is in progress. And once the assigned operator resolves the incident, they can update the status to close again. So these are the different things that are provided to help you track the status of an incident. You can also add, as I said, you can add related notes which you can come back to and refer later. And I also told you that you can automatically assign these tickets. So there is a section called assign rules over here. So when you click on add rule, you can just name your rule whatever you like. And you can either say that when a specific device raises and when a specific device or device group is responsible for a given incident, you can say that those specific incidents need to be assigned to the given user, or you can directly say that when an alert is raised from a specific alert type or alert profile, you need that incident to be assigned to a specific user. So these are the different. You can also create multiple rules. You can prioritize the rules as you like and ensure that all of your incidents are dealt with in an efficient manner. Thank you everyone for attending today's session. That brings we are nearing the end of our slot, so I'll be winding up the session now. If you have any questions, any further questions, please feel free to drop us a mail at log360-support@manageengine.com. Thank you so much for attending today's session, everybody.